Welcome everybody to the Omega Flask machine. Welcome to Conf42 Python site. I come from the Python user group of Mauritius, which is a small island in the Indian Ocean. About me, I'm a Python developer for my own account and also a FlaskCon organizing member and a Flask community workgroup member. FlaskCon is a yearly event which hosts some nice talk. We've had a first edition last year and we hope to have another edition this year. And I'm also a Shopyo maintainer. Shopyo, which is a web framework, it's actually a mega machine for Flask. You can see we just moved from a personal repo to an organization repo. Along with the documentations, we now host it on Readerdocs. And this talk is about version 3.9.4. The story begins with web frameworks. Currently, if you analyze the Stack Overflow survey, if you just see the stats for the most popular web frameworks in the world, and among them Python ones, you will see that Flask and Django unsurprisingly come up as the top most popular web frameworks. And we might analyze like a bit what drives people to choose web frameworks. For example, we have Django. So why do people use Django? What factors do they consider before using Django? The first one is the ability to get started quick. It was developed to be used under pressure, and people find it really awesome, really useful to just get started with Django. You spin websites really fast, and also in the people take into account a framework's the time development has been going on, active development I mean. People have been testing, there have been releases, and all these strengthen the project. People look at the version number certainly, like some people take it as a hint, but also whether it's the package has been adopted by the community, by companies, whether or not the app is being used in production. And in that sense, we can say that Django is a pretty much solid choice. It's pretty old also, and also about the Django ecosystem, which is strong. You want to build a feature, you know that there must be a package which already implemented the feature. You just go and grab the package and use it in your own project and you're good to go. That's why people choose Django, because you can customize your projects sometimes many times easily, and also it's scalable. That is, you have your app here, you want to make a complex app, you want to make a big app, you just continue developing. You don't have to find a better architecture, not in terms of infrastructure, but in terms of code organization. So you just focus on developing. And also, since Django is a widely used package, it's powering many websites. So obviously it integrated common security fixes, common security flaws. It addressed those flaws. And maybe if you were to start off on your own, you would have you yourself to address those issues, to provide the fixes to those common issues, because they are common issues. They're bound to be recurring, or it's within reach of people to breach. So Django got you covered up. It's also because of the wide range of apps available, like you have e-commerce, you have pretty much everything. You have for manipulating geospatial data, you have quality packages. Sometimes among all Python frameworks, you can find packages for certain fields only in Django, geospatial for example. So we can say that we have a wide range of apps for Django. Now comes to the question, why Flask? Like, you have Django here, why do people still go for Flask? Like, is Django not the answer to no? Obviously, people choose Flask for a reason. The first is that it's very easy to pick up Flask. 10 lines, you get your Flask app running. 10 yourself right. and it's awesome, it's amazing. You want an endpoint to return some text or something like that, something simple, something basic. Flask is really easy to pick up, and Flask gets out of your way. You want to program, you want to do something, so Flask is not here to actually prevent you from doing the way you want to do. It's really important for people who have grown big enough so that the framework doesn't get in the way. You see that this way is better. So with Flask, to do that, you can actually roll out your style, things about doing it, and also enjoying your development time. The Flask kind of let you enjoy the way you want. And also about customization, much like Django, but Flask also has, since Flask is a very simple, a very bare bones framework, you have to customize it and for that purpose you have an awesome collection of plugins. You have an awesome range of plugins available for you to customize. Is really big. It's like cooking. You have to find the right ingredients, in what quantity, in what proportion. You want this in your app, you want that in your app. You have to decide on the ingredients of your app. You can have the perfect meal, in other words. Then let's say that we have Flask, we have Django, but what if we could have both? What if we could have the power of Django, the incredible development speed of Django, the head start of Django, with the flexibility, the customizability of Flask? Like, what if you could have both? That's precisely what Shopyo is. It allows you to have the organization, the cross-sharing of modules of Django, features found in Django, like main entry points, commands used by Django, pretty much everything which characterizes Django and Django apps. Well, those, and then you still retain Flask. You retain the flexibility of Flask. You retain the customizing power, if we can put it like that, of Flask. What if you could just merge both? That's what Shopyo is. And conceptually speaking, what is a Shopyo app? Well, you can think of a Shopyo app as an app which has different modules. That's how you picture a Shopyo app in your mind. And when we say like, why Shopyo? We were saying we have Flask, we have Django, but from the perspective of a Flask developer, why would you want to use Shopyo? It's because Shopyo has modules, and who says modules? You can share it between projects. You have superpowers found in Django. You have the organization of Django. It's very, very, very organized, the code base. We even have a concept called boxes, which allows you to organize your apps up to a higher level. So you have a great level of organization, and it's feature packed. Like if you were to add all the features that Shopyo provides you, it would have taken you a lot of time, lots of trial and errors, and each time redoing it, it becomes boring. For example, you have migration. Shopyo provides you with migration, with the migration mechanism, with assets management, with modules, and you also have docs and tests included. What I mean by docs and tests, I don't mean the Django documentation, the Shopyo documentation, or Flask documentation. I'm talking about for your project. I'm not talking about framework documentation. I'm talking documentation for your project. Like you have a project which does something and you want to set up some instructions about a specific part, to how to connect to a specific API, how to do this and that. So you have to write some documentation. And another great place besides the README is a proper doc system. So you have, for example, you have Sphinx. Shopyo comes with Sphinx loaded by default, and also tests and test fixtures, things you need to get started, to writing tests. Everything is set up for you to continue on expanding, and so that you don't forget those two important aspects of a project. So documentation and tests are included. The basics of it are included so that you can continue development. And also Shopyo, though it provides you with awesome powers, Shopyo is transparent. It leaves much power of usage in your hands rather than in our hands, in Shopyo's hands. And also whatever is going on is clear. You can see in the app.py how Shopyo accomplishes this, how it accomplishes that, and you are free to change it if ever you want. But the idea is to have something that people can relate to. Let's say that yes, it gives you all those powers, but you have to learn, you have to do something here and there, so it's not kind of worth it. But Shopyo preserves the simplicity of if you were going bare bones Flask. So what does a Shopyo project looks like? As you can see, this is how you conceptualize Shopyo app in its full picture. You have modules, you have boxes. Boxes is a way to organize modules. You can share modules among projects, among Shopyo projects, or you can share boxes among Shopyo projects. They will work. And then you have fixtures, some common fixtures for login, logout, etc., admin user, etc. It's already included. You can use it, you cannot use it if you want. It's up to you, but they are included. If you want to go the Django way, they are included. You also have the basics of documentations already available. Shopyo also comes with a theming system. Let's say you have a site, you want to change themes. It has a way to customize everything with we can say whatever and however you want it. You just need to sit down and take the time to really write your theme, and then you can use it. And it even has an admin panel whereby you can change the themes. It has module related utilities, migrations, set management. So these are some utilities present. You have utilities sections, desks and docs and tests. You have themes. You have mail. Yes, it comes integrated with mail. You have secrets management. You have config profiles. You have, of course, the application factory. I mean, a Shopyo project is an advanced Flask app from the beginning. You want to have a super advanced Flask app, so feel free to use Shopyo. You get it for free from day one. And if you don't like some pictorial representation of what a project looks like, you certainly have this representation here, which you can pause, you can see, you can go more into depth to see exactly what a Shopyo app looks like. Like that's vanilla. That's without anything. You just have those. And then as to a module, focusing on a module, well, a module actually makes up of different parts, and unsurprisingly, like Django, you don't have, you can relate if you've used Django, you have a static folder, your templates folder, your tests folder that's included by default by Shopyo. When you create a new module, then view, models, forms, upload. Upload is for DB seeding, and info.json is about more information, gives more information on the module. As you can see, you can get pretty much organized codes, and among that, your static folder is optional. Even the view file is optional. You can have an endpoint, or you can use a package solely for the purpose of organization. You don't need to have an endpoint associated. And then as for the commands, you have run debug, you have run server, much like there is a subtle difference, but you get it. You won't even know whether it was Shopyo or not. And then you have basically collectstatic, just like Django. Those are some commands supported by Shopyo. But most importantly here, you can see how you start if Shopyo new, for example, blog, then you cd inside two directories to finally arrive at your focus starting point, I can say, of the app. So try it, shop your project name. So that's it. Those are some commands that we support. Initialize basically instantiates the DB. and collectstatic collects your assets. And then in your code, you can use getAsset so that your code remains the same for development and production. You also have migrate commands, which you can use. And then one question which always nearly comes out when I do presentations of Shopyo is why not use Django? You have all the mechanisms of Django. You have everything here. Why use Shopyo? Like, why a new framework that is built on top of Flask? Well, the answer is because Flask, because of the spirit of Flask, because of the Flask ecosystem, because of, for example, SQL Alchemy. That's why you would want to stick with Flask. But at the same time, you as a Flask user, you want to get more powers. That's where Shopyo comes in. The other questions that people ask silently inside themselves, whether or not the package is reliable. We are happy to say that we don't maintain middlewares. We use Flask login for login, we use Flask admin, migrate, WTF, SQL Alchemy, Mailman. These are popular, reliable, solid packages which have been going strong for years. Since we don't maintain our own middlewares, there are less chance of doing something really damaging to a project, but at least our tech stack is quite interesting, stable, and we've reached the end of the slides and the end of the presentation. And I can say that maybe one point which I did not touch, it's about what's the big deal about going Flask bare bones. This project looks intimidating to get started with. It's like you have all these files just to get started with. Well, to tackle this one first, we'll say that Shopyo is not for every project. You need to know when it will benefit you, when it will be great, when it makes sense to use it. If you want something maybe very simple, maybe this is not the project. But even if someone wants to use it in every case, so he can. But you really need to know like when to use it, whether it will benefit me, what are the advantages. You can compare it to Django to get an idea. I think we can finish.